Oh, the screens aren't on. Are we live?
You should be.
Okay. All right. Good evening and welcome to the special Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission. Are we good? Okay, cool. Good evening and welcome to the special Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission meeting of February 23rd, 2026. My name is Alec Bartrosov. I'm the chair of the commission. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting these questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person during this meeting. I will now call this meeting to order. It is now 6:07, and let's go down the agenda.
Item 1.
And Chair Bartrosov, just for the record, I think there may have been a typo. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the commission.
I thought
Just for the
so,
record.
but I was just going to read it as it was given to me. So thanks for
Understood.
Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, great.
Item 1A, roll call. Commissioner Avagian,
Present.
Chair Bartrosov,
Here.
Commissioner Bonston. Here. Commissioner Ordubegian,
Here.
Commissioner Shahbazian,
Here.
Student Commissioner McCurchin,
Here.
Student Commissioner Torres.
Here.
Thank you. All right, let's all stand for the flag salute. Thank you. Next item.
Item 2, posting of the agenda. The agenda for the February 23rd, 2026 regular meeting of the Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission was posted by February 19th, 2026 before 5:30 p.m. on the bulletin board outside of City Hall.
Great. Thank you. Next item.
Item 3, approval of minutes. Minutes of the Special Transportation and Parking Commission meeting on December 8th, 2025.
I'll move.
I'll second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Avagian and seconded by Chairperson Bartrosov to approve the minutes. Chair Bartrosov, sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Bonston,
Yes.
Commissioner Ordubegian,
Yes.
Commissioner Shahbazian,
I'll need to recuse. I wasn't present in that meeting.
and Commissioner Avagian.
Yes.
I had to recuse myself, so I wasn't there. I just remembered that, so I wasn't present as well.
I think I wasn't present either. Okay, then I'm going to have to. Oh,
For the record, commissioners, you do not have to be present at a meeting in order to either move approval of the minutes or to vote in approval of the minutes.
okay. Well, then yes, I guess.
Yes.
If that many people weren't present, was there a quorum?
There was not. The meeting was called to order, and then it was adjourned following the roll call.
Oh, okay.
You missed out on the shortest TPC meeting.
I guess.
Sorry. Okay, so did we get those votes on the record?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we can move on. I'm going to ask that we kind of rearrange the agenda and take item 8 first before we move on to item 4. So I'm going to move on to item 8, commission and staff comments first. Any staff comments?
I have a comment.
Okay.
um,
Yes, please.
It's been a great honor for me to serve on this commission, Transportation and Parking Commission, and in general to serve for the city of Glendale. I've been counting in my head as I was on the way here. I've been with the city of Glendale. I had different positions since 2009, starting with as a student trustee at the Glendale Community College, and then different other commissions, and not commissions actually, committees, and then finally this commission. And it truly has been an amazing journey. it has really been a great honor for me. But life is taking me to a different path. And as many may know, my husband is in dental school in Virginia Commonwealth University. And coincidentally, or maybe intentionally, I had applied to different master's programs in East Coast, and I've been accepted to Georgetown University's Master's in AI Management program. And I will be leaving my favorite city, Jewel City, Glendale, and I will be in Virginia for the next 3 years, in Virginia, Washington, D.C. So I'm going to have to step down after this meeting, and just would like to thank everyone who has been part of my journey, who has been by my side during all these years, and thank you. Just thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's an amazing opportunity. Well, hopefully, I mean, if you change your mind and come back to West Coast, because we don't have a snowstorm going.
I will definitely be back.
That sounds amazing. Congrats to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for serving the city.
Thanks. Okay.
Well, I was just going to say thank you so much for your service, and it's been a pleasure to serve alongside you. Best wishes and congratulations. What an amazing opportunity and bright future.
Thank you very much.
Just want to add congratulations again. Thank you for serving, and I wish you all the best and every happiness. So whatever happens, thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Awesome. I also want to say congratulations. This is so exciting to hear. I know that doors are opening for you, and you need to take these opportunities. But I'm happy to hear that you will be coming back. There's plenty of work to do here in Glendale, and your talents, having a new additional master's degree will be a great benefit to the city. And I will just say personally that it's been an honor working with you on the commission. You have always brought balance to the commission, and I've always been thoughtful with the questions that you ask of staff and of us as colleagues, and I appreciate that. And it's we're very fortunate to have you here. Sad to see you go, but we know you'll be coming back.
Thank you very much.
Okay, field trip to DCA.
I like that.
Okay, thanks again. Any other commissioner comments or comments from staff? If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is item 4, presentations and appointments.
Okay, may I just make a comment on the first item that we're
On which,
Is that
are we
the-
going back to commissioner comments?
No, not the commission. On the presentations, I think I need to be recusing myself for the first item, the presentations that you have.
I think it's item 5,
Or
Commissioner
is it
Odebakian.
5? Let me see. Oh, okay, sorry.
Hang tight. You're not allowed to leave yet. Okay, I don't have any comment cards, but is there somebody from the public who'd like to speak? Okay. Do we need to technically receive a comment card?
I think he's a governmental representative, Chair Bartusoff.
Okay, great. All right, please. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Bartusoff. Commissioners, my name is David Kevorkian, and I am the immediate past chair of the Consumer Affairs Advisory Commission and the current vice chair for the Consumer Affairs Advisory Commission for the County of Los Angeles. I, too, have had the honor of serving on the Audit Commission many years back and also serving on the School District's Bond Oversight Commission. And so it's my honor to be here tonight and to thank each and every one of you for your service to our wonderful city. And in spirit of the commitment, dedication, time, effort, and energy that it takes to be a commissioner, regardless of the city or the community or level of government, it requires so much selflessness and so much sacrifice and so much thoughtfulness that it does deserve to be celebrated. And in light of the news that we received about the departure of our wonderful community member, our dear friend and fellow colleague, Lily Avakian, we have prepared proclamations and certificates of appreciation for her departure, for her longtime service to both the city and to the commission, and her leadership as the past chair of the commission. And we have brought certificates from our former council member and current Congress member Laura Friedman's office, from our county supervisor Catherine Barger's office, and from my former boss's office, from the Los Angeles County Assessor Jeff Prang's office. And so if you would give me just a quick moment to read the highlights and the most important parts of those certificates, I would like to invite all of our colleagues to come together, hold up a certificate with Lily, and take a group photo, and then put that into the forever archives of the work of this commission as well. I'd like to start off by, as a former council member, I'd like to read our Congresswoman Laura Friedman's certificate first. And it says, in recognition of your public service on the Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission since September of 2022, and your leadership as chairperson from September 2024 to September 2025, congratulations on a successful tenure. Member of Congress Laura Friedman. These truly, truly remarkable works of art. This commendation comes from Supervisor Catherine Barger's office in recognition of dedicated service to the affairs of the community and for the civic pride demonstrated by numerous contributions for the benefit of all the residents of County of Los Angeles and the City of Glendale. Supervisor Catherine Barger's office. And the third certificate from Los Angeles County Assessor Prang's office. It is presented in as a proclamation with a bunch of whereas clauses, and I assure you these are very lovely and generous words. On behalf of LA County Assessor Prang, congratulating Lily Avakian for her service on the Transportation and Parking Commission for the City of Glendale. At this time, I'd like to invite those who are interested or who would like to, please join me to the front, and I ask Lily Avakian to join us in the front to take a group photo with these proclamations to memorialize your outstanding service to this commission.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Mr. Chair. Congratulations. You get to hold the small one. There you go. Mr. Chair.
Oh my gosh.
I've never done this before.
Oh wow.
It's okay. So here's what you do. Where's my phone? Staff be kind enough to take a quick hold of that. There we go. All right. Landscape. Try to get center. Leila, congratulations. Best of luck on your second master's program. Come back with really good stuff about AI to teach us on the transportation, please.
I definitely will.
Congratulations. There we go. And you have the envelopes for safekeeping there, okay? All right. Commissioners, thank you for your service to the City of Glendale. I wish you best of luck in everything that you guys have going on the commission.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Thank you. Okay, any other presentations or appointments? If not, we'll move on to item 5. All right, we'll move on to item 5.
All right.
Item 5A, report regarding the updated Montrose parking analysis. Motion to note and file the Montrose parking analysis.
Got it. May I make a quick comment?
Yes, please.
All right, so I have a business on 3600 Ocean View Boulevard, which is adjacent to parking lot number 7 in Montrose. So my understanding is that will not allow me to make comments or suggestions regarding this matter and these presentations that we have. So I'm recusing myself from these presentations, and I'll get back on the rest of those. Thank you, Chair.
Understood. Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, Chair Bartusoff, members of the commission. The first item before you is the Montrose parking analysis. It's going to summarize the updated parking conditions in Montrose and recommend changes to improve customer experience and by consolidating employee parking into select lots and adjusting paid parking areas. 2 program options are presented, with the Montrose Shopping Park Association supporting the option that introduces customer paid parking to help subsidize employee permits. With that, we have Dan McKinney with Transpo Group, who was our consultant who helped us prepare the report.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
As I was just introduced, my name's Dan McKinney. I'm with the Transpo Group. So I've been, I'm a managing principal at it's a consulting firm. We do transportation and parking. I've been working with the city since I think 2018. So we actually did and implemented parking studies for downtown and Montrose and published those in 2019. Some of you may remember those, and made a bunch of recommendations that a bunch have kind of been incorporated. We then had this thing called the pandemic hit that kind of changed behaviors and patterns. So we came back out and we kind of reevaluated parking again. We're hearing complaints about employee parking in Montrose. So we came up with some recommendations, and I think we just have an update and presentation that we want to share with you. And with that, this is a presentation that we've kind of given a little bit to the Montrose Shopping or Montrose Park Shopping Association as well. So some of it has some information that's probably maybe familiar to you guys being in the transportation field. But we wanted to just relay that the parking we really feel is a valuable asset to the city. And so many of those things that are important about parking and the policies and programs that go along with that support a lot of the goals and ambitions that the city has. Everything from economic development and supporting small businesses to livability of neighborhoods to even supporting tourism and making sure that customers can find available parking. One thing that's important is that parking is usually your first and last impression when you're coming into a city. So when you're coming into shopping, if you have a bad experience, you might not come back. Or when you're leaving and you have a bad experience and you have a ticket or something, then it kind of leaves a bad impression. So we try to implement these policies to kind of support overall goals and objectives of the city. So with that, I kind of mentioned that we really were updating a lot of the work that we did in 2019. So we went out and collected new data. We reviewed that data, came up with some information around that, and then developed some parking management strategies that we were updating and implementing, as well as looking at some options for the employee parking program that we're going to be presenting to council as well in the near future. This is some information and pages from the report. If you haven't seen it, we published a report, I think in December 25, that really highlights some of the things that we implemented since the 2019 study. So some of those we made some recommendations about evaluating, integrating technology. So some license plate recognition software and so forth was done for enforcement. We increased some pricing around Honolulu Avenue. We extended some time limits for when we would charge for parking. We changed those time limits to kind of match up with when those peak demands were occurring and actually shifted them a little bit later in the day. There was a lot of branding and wayfinding that was updated and improved since 2019. Pay by phone was implemented. So there's a lot of policies that the city, we really launched out and took on and really started improving on the parking. I think the next steps of that was the stuff that we're going to talk about today with the employee parking program and so forth. Just to familiarize yourself a little bit with Montrose, this is the study area. If you can see on here, there's close to 900 parking spaces that we kind of evaluated and collected data around. That includes off-street parking lots, 660 of those, and then 221 on-street parking spaces. Overall, occupancies are this is kind of showing the hourly patterns of occupancies, both during the weekday and the weekend, or Saturday condition. The weekday is in blue. The Saturday is in the brownish color. As you can see, the peaking conditions kind of were during the evening is when we were seeing the highest level of peaking. We have a dotted line up there representing like the 85% occupancy level. That's kind of the pseudo threshold that we hold. Once you reach 85% threshold, we kind of feel that that's pretty full, and then you should start implementing and looking at different strategies to accommodate that. This just looks at an overall picture, though, of the entire community. So averaging all of the spaces out, on-street and off-street. When we compare that to 2019, this is the data from 2019, we had different spiking and peaking conditions. So in 2019, pre-pandemic, we had more and higher, busier conditions during the lunchtime. I'll call it lunchtime, but during the noon peak, if you will. But not too different during the evening peaks. So in this latest round of data collection, although overall occupancies were below that 85% threshold, we were seeing a lot of spaces that had high occupancies, or what we call as hotspots sometimes. So the areas in red were indicating locations where we did have that over 85% occupancy during certain periods of the day. And this graph represents more than 3 hours in a specific day. So during the weekday, that represented lots 2, lots 4, and lots 7. And then on street, you can see them speckled around the community, but mainly along Honolulu Avenue, which is the main roadway through there, which is the busiest area. Highest demand parking, I should say. This is the Saturday condition. A little bit lighter, but you can still see peaking conditions around lot 2 and 6, and especially along Honolulu Avenue and some of the on-street parking. Another data point that we looked at was what we call as turnover, or duration of stay. And so this is kind of looking at what percentage of vehicles stay less than the 3-hour time limit versus more than the 3-hour time limit. And many of the lots, especially the busier ones, we're seeing that vehicles are parking more than 3 hours. So anywhere from, I'm going to round, between 20 and 40% in some of those off-street lots. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we talk about that. Saturday condition, this is I just flipped the page. It's a similar story, but it's somewhere around 10 to 30% is in that longer term parking in the off-street lots. So high level, and I'm going over this quickly, and I'm more than happy to take questions anytime you have it, but a high level summary, one thing I forgot to mention is that in that data collection, there are private lots that are run by Glendale Community College or owned by Glendale Community College that they allow and open up right now for use by the public. So we actually collected that data as well and included that in the analysis. Overall, occupancies have decreased a little bit, especially during that noon peak condition that we were seeing pre-pandemic, but there's still definitely high occupancy areas and hotspots during the study period in lots 2, 4, 6, and 7. And then also some of those on-street areas, especially along Honolulu. We did see that there was available parking in lots 3 and 5. Those are some of the larger parking lots and maybe not as convenient, but there is parking available. What else can I tell you? And then I mentioned that the 3-hour parking. So there was a lot of parking that was occurring in those lots that was occurring more than 3 hours, which we would attribute to employee parking. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about a little bit, is that can we manage that employee parking and free up some of those spaces in those lots that are busier. And if we can do that, then we can better balance some of the demands throughout the area. Instead of having so many hot spots, we want to kind of come up with a program that will kind of balance out the parking and provide more equitable availability of parking for different businesses in the area. So some of those strategies, pricing is one of the things that we want to continue to work with. They're currently charged for parking along on-street spaces along Honolulu and some of the adjacent streets. We want to increase that 50 cents an hour. So I think that'll go up from $1.50 to $2 an hour. That will help shift some of those demands, and some of that demand continues to be high along Honolulu. As we shift that, we kind of want to make adjustments on an annual basis, and I think the city has pretty good programs for how to monitoring that. We always want to continue to consider tiered pricing. That's a strategy that the city uses within downtown as well, which is basically saying the higher demand areas have a higher price, lower demand areas have a lower price. Typically, the on-street parking is rated or at a higher price, and then off-street parking would be lower price to kind of shift the demands away from the on-street and to get them off into the parking lots. Another recommendation was to kind of continue on that process of updating technology. The pay by phone and LPR enforcement on the left and the right side of the screen has already been in place based upon the last recommendations that we made. I think the pay stations is one of the things that we kind of want is the next step. So pay stations are utilized throughout the city and downtown specifically, but in Montrose there's still meter parking where you're coin operated and so forth. So the pay stations is just an upgraded technology. It allows you to put your license plate information in there. It allows enforcement to be easier. You have less what I'll call street furniture or obstructions in the walkway. So there's a lot of benefits and improvements that we can talk about if you're not familiar with it, but that's one of the recommendations that we're kind of moving forward as we look at the technology side of it. Another thing is, as we look at the employee program, there's currently an employee program, if you weren't aware, that you can buy placards for. There's a charge for that, but they're also manual hang tag placards that you put on your inside your car. So we're recommending that we go and utilize the technology available and go to digital permits, so that just like you would use the pay station to enter your license plate, you would have a digital permit that would register your license plate or your car via your license plate and allow enforcement to be quicker and easier, less reproduction of materials, and just it really makes it easier to implement and also enforce. With doing that, there's always a little bit of upfront cost with that. Some of that can be managed through vendor software. Obviously, you'll have a little bit of education, just like with any parking changes, you'll have to educate the community as well as the business owners and so forth. Some of the specific programs that we're looking at for the employee parking program we'll talk about now. We really, as I mentioned before, we really want to start balancing out the parking demand. So some of those lots are extremely busy, hard to find parking. So businesses directly adjacent to some of those lots have a hard time attracting customers or having their employees find parking. So we really want to try to balance that out a little bit better and start identifying approaches for that and improving efficiencies. We have two options to talk about tonight that we're going to present to council. One of them is more of a focused on paid parking and having customers pay for parking in the lots. And another one is just really focusing on time restrictions and managing them through time restrictions, but also charging maybe a higher fee for the employee permits. So there's two different options I'll walk through. We did get input from the MSPA, and so we talked to them, and I can talk to you about their input and their feedback along the way. Tad as well can give you some of that. So option one, that's the paid parking approach. So in this option, I'll quickly talk and summarize these two, and then I have a slide that actually compares them. So then that's a little bit easier to think about as well. But this is where we would charge for parking in all the lots, and we'd utilize pay stations. So this would be a new charging program for off-street parking. We would have that tiered structure, so the off-street parking would be less than what on-street parking would be. We would likely remove the time limit restrictions, so this would allow more flexibility. So if you wanted to not pay for parking, we would implement permits for employees, and those could be low cost or free, depending on how the city wants to kind of manage that. That hasn't been decided as of yet. But we would also remove the time limit restrictions. So if there was an employee that doesn't want, or that only worked part-time or something that wanted to park for a longer duration, you could have the option to pay. So if you wanted to park or stay there all 8 hours, you could park, you just would have to pay for 8 hours. As I mentioned, the employee permits would be free or at a discounted rate. We would restrict those employee permits to only park in certain designated lots. So that right now, that would be the lots 2, 3, and possibly 4. So that would provide a dispersion of available parking throughout the area, but also remove them from some of those hot spots where we want our customers to have available parking. We would work on converting on-street meters to the pay stations. That's one of the recommendations of that technology that we talked about earlier. So in this strategy or this approach, your funding would really be generated through customers that are coming to the site versus employees paying for parking. So that's one of the aspects of this. And the same with enforcement. So instead of enforcing and giving tickets to people that are parking longer, which are typically employees, you'd be ticketing people that are visitors that maybe haven't paid is really what you'd be focusing on your enforcement strategy. So that second option is kind of a little bit different, is looking at the time limit approach. And so instead of charging for off-street parking, it would still be free, but we would then implement a 2-hour limit. So we would reduce the amount of time that you could park there from 3 hours to 2 hours in order to create more turnover and more options for spaces to open up and facilitate parking. In this program, we would have employee permits as well. If you wanted to park longer than 2 hours, those fees for those permits would probably be higher to kind of offset some of the costs of the program. So you'd end up charging employees more so than you would in customers in this scenario. We would still restrict the employee parking to certain lots. That would be the 2, 3, and 4, as I kind of mentioned in the previous one. As I mentioned already, the funding is primarily through the cost of the employee permits is how that program would be done. On the enforcement side, you would be enforcing, instead of if people paid or not, you'd be enforcing if they've overparked or overstayed. And so those tickets then would be probably primarily toward people that stayed longer than 2 hours, which oftentimes is employees or something violating and not having a permit from that standpoint. So this is a lot of words on this page, but I'll kind of, just as a comparison, if we need to look at this, we can later. On the paid parking side, it's really just a matter of, are we going to charge for parking in the off-street lots and have lower cost permits? The time restrictions would be not, if we did charge, we would actually remove the time restrictions and allow people to park longer if they wanted to. You would just have to pay for that. The employee permits, the prices are different. So if we are charging for parking, then the program is probably funded through that. And so we could offer a free or discounted employee permit for employees that are parking there. And that would be managed through the city on who would be able to get those permits. What other things? Some upfront capital costs. I think you'd have a little bit of upfront costs on both conditions. And some of these, we say that they're costs, but there's probably options for relocating some of the existing pay stations that the city has. So the cost of some of the pay station aspects would probably be minimal and probably something that the city already has on hand. So those costs are probably offset from the existing capital that's already available. The funding generation, I think we talked about a little bit about this, but your program is typically funded in option 1 through customers coming and paying for parking versus in option 2, it's really the employees or the employers paying for passes for those employee passes. And then the enforcement is different. So your strategy, obviously, if you're charging for parking, you got to enforce for parking, and if they're paying or not. But if you're doing the time limits, you're really focused on the time limit aspect. So when you're ticketing for people that don't pay, it's usually people that are customer based that you're actually enforcing versus employee based that you're enforcing as much. Both of them require education and output and information, and so that's kind of the same for both of those. I want to talk a little bit more about the funding. I think one of the struggles is that typically you want your parking system to be sustainable and self-funding. So if you are charging for parking, you want that to kind of go back into the system and pay for itself. Currently in Montrose, the revenue only pays for annual operating costs. So it does not pay for any capital projects or program improvements, and that's kind of a struggle in the Montrose area. So what that means is like capital projects would include like regular maintenance, like asphalt slurry or resurfacing parking lots or fixing potholes or restriping. Any sign replacements, there's not funding for that. Any kind of improvements that they want to do for ADA or EV chargers or solar canopies or those kind of things is not available right now. And so if you were, those are considerations as we go through this program. We're trying to make sure that it's self-sustaining, and it's not a there's not a deficit in the revenue generation. So some of the program improvements can include outreach campaigns, upgrades to hardware and software, and many of the parking management improvements that we were talking about today can be funded through if you charge for parking one way or another, whether it's through the actual permits or through customers coming to off-street parking lots. So there's just a funding thing that we really need to consider, and that takes place as part of this. When we talk to the Montrose, I should go back maybe. When we talked to the Montrose Shopping Park Association, they were unanimously in support of option 1, which was charging for parking. They were ready for that, and so the off-street parking, they were ready to charge for that. Currently, I think the off-street the on-street parking is charged like $2, or it's $1.50. It's going up to $2 an hour. So the off-street would probably be in the ballpark of $1 an hour. So not a high expense. And then the discounted rate for passes for employees is what they were in more support of, and felt that would be beneficial. And then having employees park in designated areas. So they were very unanimously in support of option 1, and they didn't like the idea of option 2 of keeping free parking or charging a higher dollar amount for employee parking permits. So with that, I think that's really what I had to present to you. I think the timeline in the next couple of months, we're probably going to go to City Council and present similar presentation and have them make some decisions on which approach that we should move forward with. If they adopt whatever they adopt and approve, we will then immediately take next steps for outreach communication, setting up the program. Our guess is that probably the program probably wouldn't be implemented until next year. So is my guess, but it all depends on how that council meeting goes. So yeah, that's what I had for you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any discussion here for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. McKinney. That was a great presentation. So why don't we go around and do a round of questions, and then once we're done with all questions, we can move to comments. Yes.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I have 2 questions. One is in downtown Glendale. Also, we have upgraded the pay stations, and one thing that actually is not very convenient is this newer pay stations, or the program is not sending a text message when the time is about to expire. And I asked around, and the answer that I got is the third party who's managing it, they don't have that option. I want to know if this is going to be the same company and if there's an option like that, because as a consumer, I find it very convenient when you get a text message that says, hey, you're about to get a ticket.
I'll have Tad come up and give you a little more detail on that.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tad Dombrowski, parking manager for the city. So it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago that we went down the road of a mobile payment solution. And we did, with the meters that we had in place now in the downtown, we had the option to extend by text. And that was a program that they offered. But there was a shift in the industry where a lot of the mobile payment companies were third party. And we're coming in and replacing a lot of that with additional features that you couldn't get from the meter. And so a lot of these programs, so a few years ago, we finally came to evaluating one of those and saying, we're going to pull the trigger and partner with one of those companies. And I think there were 8 companies that applied at the time. We went through and did all of our due diligence on it, settled with one who last year actually developed Armenian, converted their app. They had 12 languages, and Armenian is now their 13th that they brought on simply for the city of Glendale. So we partnered with a company called Pay by Phone. With that app, it was something that we were able to not only utilize in Montrose, but we were able to layer over the entire program. So both single space meters as well as the multi-space meters on Brand can all be done through the app. And what it did was it moved the functionality for things like extend by phone and reminder text and all of those portions. It shifted it over into the app. So the functionality is still there if you utilize the app. But at the meter itself, a lot of those programs were going end of life, and the companies weren't renewing them because of the maintenance that it costs to keep up when they had so many third-party companies that were competing for that same service.
Okay, so I guess it's a semi-yes, the answer. So unless they use the app, that option is not available. So my next question, if that's something that you want to answer, how are elderly paying? Is the coin or cash paying option still available? Because senior citizens may not be able to use the PayUiPhone app. I mean, I, in fact, today helped someone who wasn't elderly to download the PayByPhone app so they can make the payment. And it's not, I wouldn't say that it's not convenient, but nowadays people just like go around and they have to download bunch of apps for different cities, for different type of like services, and then this is not something that everyone's using, right? So you're in Glendale and then you have to download something. So for younger people, it's going to be easier to understand and to accommodate, but for seniors, it may be a challenge.
Commissioner Vagian, I agree with you completely. I have finally reached that age where I will have my kids download the app for me and go ahead and do it. So I understand the dynamics with that. And when we were selecting a mobile payment platform, one of the things that we wanted was to keep the existing functionality that we had in the system. We didn't want to change the entire system that we had. And I used the term before, overlay is what we put on, where it was simply adding a sticker. If you want to use the app, you can. If you want to continue using coins, you can still put coins in the meter just like you could before. So it allows the functionality of both. And depending on the user base, there are obviously people, there's some people who are more inclined to use apps, there's some people who are more inclined to carry coins. I think as we go forward, the coins will go away at some point. I think we're already seeing trending in that direction. I think COVID amplified that with people wanting to use their phones a lot more and use touchless and use anything else. So I think there's certain things that are already driving that direction. But I think I think using the app is something, it's not always convenient. I've had plenty of people that have had challenges with it. But it's also, once you get the app downloaded and you get your information in there, it's safely and securely on your phone. And when you go to pay the next time, you don't have to reinsert all that information. You can select your vehicle. If you're driving, if you want to have 3 vehicles in there, you can just select which plate number you're paying for. So it's a little tedious at first to get everything in there, but once you link everything there, it's very easy on a daily basis to go and say, let me just pull this up and pay.
So we're basically just letting the user figure out themselves and wishing them good luck. Whether they can do it or not, it's their problem, I guess. Okay, hopefully. I mean, you said that the coin option is still available and the cash option is still available if they completely refuse to do the mobile version.
Correct. You can still continue to pay coins at the meters today and for the foreseeable future, as you always have been.
Okay, and I promise my last question. I know that there were a hacking situation there when there were people who were putting a fake QR codes that they were taking to the completely another website, and people were stealing the money. So how are we monitoring that and making sure that doesn't happen? Aside from making sure, telling people, hey, make sure to download the app, because we're not able to tell every single person or every single visitor. How else are we monitoring that situation?
Commissioner Vagian, great point. So we have had some internal discussions with this, because there's a balance to all of this. One of the features, just like being able to continue to accept coins the way that we traditionally have, one of the other features that PayByPhone offered is an 800 number. You can literally go old school, enter the 800 number, and use touch tone on your actual phone in order to pay for the meter. It's less than 1% now of people that are actually doing that. Back in the day, 10, 15, 20 years ago, that would have been much higher than it is now. But it's trending down to where, is it something that we continue to offer? And along those same thought processes, we set up this program from day one without accepting QR codes. While there was a convenience for it, while people were familiar with it because of COVID, there was an area that could be exploited for fraud, and we didn't want to have any part of that. We wanted to send a clear message that for the parking program, we don't use QR codes. So if you see them, don't use them. One of the things that we have seen recently, I was just notified about it last week, is the fraudulent websites have been created that are just slightly off, missed by one letter from the website that we have. And
That's exactly what I'm referring to.
if one of the customers just accidentally slips a little bit and puts a space in or puts whatever in, then it can be wrong. So the one thing I can say is not once in the 3+ years of this program have we ever had somebody's information compromised if they've downloaded the app. The idea that is the safest and securest method of doing it, and it is where the constant monitoring comes in on the back end. And so the company itself, not only does it look for the troubleshooting for some of the stuff that comes up. If it's QR codes, they partnered to be able to get those websites down. They've done a whole lot of stuff on the back end, but the app itself is the most secure form available because it has to go through either Apple or Google's app store and all the regulations that come with that, encrypting the data. So it's the safest and securest method is definitely to download the app.
And how do we communicate that to the user?
That is an ongoing effort to push it through. And again, it's pushing it through social media channels, but if they're not using their phones, it's hard to get that message out to the user.
Okay, I'm done with my questions.
Commissioner Avakian, we have had those instances happen a handful of times in the past. We have pushed out that information as soon as we've seen it through our social media channels, like Mr. Dombrowski indicated. We also have our public information office, which we will also share that information with, and they can send it out as a mass campaign to city staffs and city residents in the event that we see a mass breach of something like that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Sarkis.
Great, thank you. Next one to go, and before you do, can we, just for the sake of others who may be wanting to digest that chart a little bit longer, the option 1, option 2 slide. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Shauna, you have questions?
I do have a couple questions. So I hadn't thought of this, but bringing up the pay by phone. Does the pay by phone have a convenience fee?
It does. I believe it's 30 cents per transaction.
And that app is used for individual meters, not pay stations. Is that correct? Or is it both?
So it's used for both. The credential for the app is the license plate. So at areas where we have, like on Brand Boulevard, where we have the pay stations and you can enter your license plate, it can be used for that. In areas where we have single space meters, where it flashes whether it's paid or not, on the enforcement side, it is challenging because they have to not only check that, but they have to also look at the app and make sure that it hasn't gone through there. But the app is feeding through the enforcement system to show the license plate is valid. So even if it's not valid at the meter, it's valid through the plate.
But pay stations look like they'd be the ones used. That didn't make sense. But at Montrose would be looking at pay stations regardless.
And correct, and that was part of Mr. McKinney's presentation. Is I think the shift over to pay stations would be ideal, which still accept coin.
Okay, and I just have a couple more questions. So the Montrose Shopping Park Association, is that mostly comprised of employers, and are they responsible for paying for the permits for employees?
As a business, I think the Montrose Shopping Park Association does represent the businesses. However, I think every business is focused on their visitor traffic as well. I think that's part of the component. And so being able to meet with the business owners and say, what is it you prefer from a policy standpoint of where are the fees charged? I think that was the key. Do they pay for them? Some of them do, some of them don't. There's no regulation with it, but some of the employers, that was some of the feedback that we did hear from them is, look, I pay for my employees. If you're talking about right now, the permit fee up there is $120 for a year, or call it $10 a month. If you're looking at changing that to $30 or $40 or $50 a month, which in our downtown, it's $100 a month for a monthly pass. So it's significant. But if you're looking at having the burden on that, it would be too much for us. We already are having challenges finding employees. We're already having challenges a buck or two to park in the lots and to help pay for maintenance and to help pay for everything that we do up here. And to make sure that you have an available spot was definitely something that we heard the feedback clearly from them.
Thank you. My last question is, I was thinking about the model that's used in downtown Glendale, where these are mostly parking garages. You park for 90 minutes free and then you pay. Is that not a model that can be applied for parking lots, or just curious?
It's the difference between metered parking and gated systems.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge is with metered parking, there is no way to give a free period for any amount of time.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? No? I just had one clarifying question. I saw on one of the slides there was, I guess it was the funding slide. If we can just slide over to that. Yeah. So I just want to make sure I understand the last point. The proposed change, the additional funding or the revenue coming in would fund the improvements that are coming in?
That's correct. I think from the starting point that we looked at, if we're already not funding something, to go and get a consultant on board and have them propose a whole lot of stuff that we can't implement is a challenge. So looking at not only what we want to implement for the parking changes, but also if we were able to create a revenue stream that could do things such as solar or EV or other things that are related, we would love to be able to put that in place as well.
Okay, great. Okay, I didn't have any additional questions. Any of the student commissioners had questions?
I just wanted to know, like, for the second approach, so basically the employees have to have permit if they want to park more than 2 hours? Like, they have to have it?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's move on to comments.
Do we have any, are we opening it for discussion? Do we have any comment cards?
We do not have, thanks for reminding me to look. We do not have comment cards for this item.
And can we go back to the options on the screen?
Yeah. I have a few comments. And I want
Commissioner
Yes.
Shabazian,
There's
do
a
we
call.
have any comment cards? I believe we...
Oh, sure.
Did you want to speak to 5A? Okay, that's no problem. So let's take public comment and then we'll move on to commission comments and action. So I have an Edgeman. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ejmin Hakobian. I appreciate you allowing me to speak. I apologize for the mistake I made on the agenda item. I'm here to advocate for the interest of the small businesses at Montrose Shopping Park and the residents. I encourage you to consider and recommend the option selected by MSPA to the City Council. Parking is a core dependency for these small businesses at the Montrose Shopping Park, and any reduction or disruption directly impacts revenue, customer access, and city sales tax collections. These businesses are predominantly small owner-operated shops that do not have margin or scale to absorb policy shocks that alter consumer behavior or reduce foot traffic. The area is already facing a structural parking deficit due to the GCC and USC project, which will remove existing parking spots while increasing long-term demand, creating a predictable imbalance. The correct policy approach is to preserve and protect existing parking access, avoid disrupting changes, and prioritize solutions that are consistent with the community feedback and the economic stability of the district. I frequently attend the MSPA meetings, and I've for the past several months, and parking is a #1 priority for that community. So again, I want to encourage you to consider what the MSPA businesses feedback that was provided. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to commission comments.
I can go first. Thank you for the presentation. Thanks for your feedback. I'm gonna look at this as a complete like transportation, kind of like an issue, and would like us to maybe possibly assess if there's time. But I don't know who here is familiar with Dr. Shoup. He's like the god of parking. And I wanted to actually read something what he always advocated for. So he's, what he always said was how pricing parking correctly actually is better for the city. And when parking is underpriced or free, we unintentionally basically encourage excess driving, create congestion from drivers circling around to find space, and also shift the true cost of parking into taxpayers and local businesses. We usually don't realize that, but in reality, that's what happens. You'll have someone park there for a very long time for a coffee shop and not move if the parking is very inexpensive, while this can be moved, if it's at more expensive, parking depending on the use, and actually there's going to be more revenue created for the business. So overall, especially with the growth where we're going, thinking about the future of Glendale, Montrose being such a desired area of the city, I think we need to realize how important those parking spaces are and how they're actually very high valued. I know that the city looks into, curb management, and there's just so much that's going on, especially with, other services that are going on now. So I think pricing it and not being afraid to price it in a way that actually pays for itself and it generates revenue for the city would not harm the shopping center. Again, think about it, a coffee shop, let's say there's a Starbucks there. Folks come and park there to grab a cup of coffee. And Starbucks probably was a bad example because it's a corporate, but a moms and pops store. But then they're like, I'm going to just hang out here. Parking was just $90, 90 minutes free, or, it was very inexpensive. While if parking is more expensive, let's say a few dollars, they'll grab their coffee, they might hang out for a little bit of time and move so another person can come and, occupy the spot and so on. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And, so not being afraid of, I know we've done assessment for the pricing, but in my opinion, $2 can be increased, but I haven't done the study, but looking at other cities around us, trying to kind of look at how the cost would help us. Another thing I wanted to bring up was the conversation about employees. We talk about employees employers having to pay for employees' parking. The city has a transportation demand management program. I know we're a little behind and we haven't updated for a while on it, but I think that we're working on it to update it. I know planning department is doing that. I see some, it's moving. And why I'm speaking specifically on that, I'm talking about the AQMD, Southern California Air Quality Management District. Thank you. And specifically Rule 2202, where it talks about reducing emissions, and it specifically talks about how employers should help employees to kind of reduce the single occupant vehicle driving into workplace. So actually, the better approach usually, and again, a bigger assessment needs to be done. I know our TDM program is still, again, I think being updated. But in reality, in order to be able to encourage employees to not drive to work, and they'll happily, mostly if there are services that would bring them to to the location would be to incentivize, incentivize for them to get to work, not by paying for parking, but for paying for their, possibly bus service, or paying for the, if they're carpooling, or if, if there are other modes of transportation that they might be using. And giving employees free parking is exactly opposite of what AQMD or Rule 2202 calls for. And this has been in place since early 90s. Glendale is a little behind on it. I think we're hopefully going to be catching up on it. But it should be something that we look into, rather than just saying, hey guys, here you go, free parking, and take that parking spot that could be used by a future, person that might be giving business to the community. We would be like, hey, why don't we, subsidize your bus ticket or something like that. Sorry, it's been a long day, so I feel like I'm losing some of my words as I'm trying to speak. So those are the two things that I wanted to mention. Again, thanks for doing this study, but I know we're always scared of, oh my God, if we lose parking, or if parking isn't free, we're gonna lose our revenue and folks coming here. But actually, studies have shown that if we do manage the fees properly, it is actually going to bring more revenue to the businesses, and actually to the city, where our parking management team will be able to make its money and maybe some revenue from it. Those are my comments that I wanted to mention. Thank you.
I have a comment slash a question. Maybe this is something that I should have studied myself, or I should have done my research, but I know our neighbor city, Burbank, has completely free parking. I don't know if is that something that has been studied and compared, because we're right next to each other. What are the benefits of them having completely free parkings in downtown, and how are they benefiting from it versus us having paid parking and significantly higher price than I don't know. I know it's significantly higher than other cities. Can't really, don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly which cities are cheaper.
So commissioners, I would say we got out in front of this long before Burbank did. And that we started our program. We started paid parking in the 40s in Glendale in our downtown, which was long before a lot of cities did. So I think we were at the forefront then. I think now what we're seeing is a whole lot of cities trying to catch up to where we are. Burbank last year implemented its first paid parking program. And now in the downtown, they have some of the same meters. They have the exact same meters that we have on Brand over in their downtown now. So they're shifting over to paid parking, and it took a long time for them to get there. I think we've been working towards this. We've had it in our downtown, but I think areas like Montrose are a perfect example of everything that you just highlighted as well, Commissioner. And it's at a tipping point where I think if we put in the good policies now, then as we have things like the GCC, however that moves forward, we're ready for that, and we have policies in place that will set the ground for that.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No? Well, I'll just add, and I thank Commissioner Shabazian for the Transportation 101. For the public and the audience, I was a student of Donald Shoup. Unfortunately, he passed away not long ago, and I was one of the fortunate students. But if y'all want to geek into it, the book that he wrote that he's famous for is called The High Cost of Free Parking. I had to read it in class, and I encourage folks to do the same if you're interested in diving into the topic. But as my colleague said, and as staff kind of alluded to, parking, like many things in our city, is a resource that needs to be managed. Parking is not sexy topic, but as was mentioned, it's such a important resource for the city to thrive, for there to be turnover, to attract people and customers to come to our commercial corridors. And I'm glad to see this length of study and this thorough research and coming to a recommendation. I'm also glad to see that the Shopping Park Association came to us and came to the city with a unanimous recommendation. Usually in city politics and with discussions like this, there's not that kind of unanimity. There's usually somebody upset about something. So I'm happy to see that come to the city in that way. I also just thought personally, I was a little bit concerned about option 2 because the times that I go to Montrose and drive there, as I often do, I'm there for more than 2 hours. I go there, I park, I go to the restaurant, I go to the bookstore, I get some coffee. Like, I'm there for a good amount of time, even the farmer's market. So I'm happy to see the business owners are good with option 1, and that seemed to be the one that made the most sense to me, just practically. So I think that's all that I have to say. So I guess I will make I shouldn't make the motion. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I don't know. I don't know if you're making a motion. It was a informational item, so no vote on that, right?
It is an action item, Commissioner Shabazian. Staff's recommended action is to note and file the report.
I'll make a motion.
I'm so sorry. Before we do that, so basically, it's just we were saying we heard the presentation, correct?
That's correct. You've heard the presentation. You acknowledge receipt of the report, and it will be recorded with the commission's records.
Thank you.
So as I make a motion, I need to formulate it in a way saying that it's a recommendation to the city council?
No, Commissioner Vagian, if you are moving the staff recommendation, it would be to note and file the item.
Okay. So help me on this.
But before you do, I just to clarify, I guess council will be making some decision, perhaps based on staff's recommendation and perhaps based on our comments today. So why is it not an action item?
It is an action item, Chair Bartusoff. Noting and filing the report is an action of the commission. Okay. I guess, can you clarify why is it a note and file versus a, what's another form of how we would make a recommendation to council? I think you've just said it. It would be an alternative to noting and filing would be recommending either of the alternatives, but I defer to Public Works on the recommendation to note and file the report. My understanding is that the purpose of this process was to elicit substantive feedback from the commission for the department to present to the city council to inform their ultimate decision.
Sarkis, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, so it was to note and file the report. There was 2 options presented. The MSPA supported option 1, so you guys are free to make a motion that we can also take to the city council, like Aaron said, and we would put a motion or essentially the TPC recommended at this meeting this type of action.
And just for the public's awareness, is staff recommending option 1 to council? Or is that TBD, or what's staff's position?
Commissioner Bartusoff, I would say at this point it's TBD. The purpose of this meeting was very similar to how we had gone out to the Montrose Shopping and Park Association meetings. This is a public meeting. We wanted to encourage people to come to share their input as well as to get your input. And then we'll be taking that back and rolling all of that up into a council report and deciding how to incorporate all of the feedback together. But these are outreach and touch points that we want to make sure that we've gotten to everybody we can in the community before presenting this to council for recommendations.
So do you feel comfortable sharing? Is staff, I guess, normally what happens is staff report is written, it comes with a recommendation from staff. It seems we're not getting that recommendation. So are you at liberty to share your point of view on this topic, or should we just receive and note and file so that you can formulate your opinions later?
Commissioner Bartusoff, I will leave that decision entirely to you. What I will add is, as you pointed out, it is very rare that we find such support for something in this case, so it would not surprise me to continue seeing that support.
Can I ask, if our action is to receive and file, can we go back to the comments section?
Yeah, so there was technically a motion and a second, but
I'm not sure if I defer to the clerk. I'm not sure if I heard a clear motion and a second. I heard some confusion, so we were trying to work through that. You're still in the course of deliberation, so certainly you can return to comments. As the assistant director mentioned, alternatively, Chair Bartusoff, if the commission wants to make a recommendation, notwithstanding the staff recommendation to note and file, it's an action item. It's been agendized as such, and you can do that. But again, the only clarification that I wanted to answer your question about why it's a note and file item is my understanding that the primary purpose of the discussion was to elicit feedback that could inform a report to the City Council, and not just have a bottom line recommendation, but a body of feedback.
okay, given that the asking additional questions kind of unraveled and got us to a point where we need to have some more comments, I'd like to welcome additional comments from the commission if necessary.
Thank you. I asked a series of questions, but I guess my comment is also that in looking at the options and hearing the presentation and reading the report, option 1 also makes a lot of good sense to me.
I have a question. Since Commissioner Ordubagian disclosed that he owns a business in that area, I don't know, is that okay if we ask to hear his opinion as well, or we can't?
Commissioner Avagian, he's recused from this item. Under the Political Reform Act, Commissioner Ordubagian could speak as a member of the public as to his personal business interest only. He has been apprised of the parameters in the Political Reform Act governing the comments he can and cannot make, and I leave that entirely up to him at that juncture. So I think I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you.
And Commissioner Avakian, it was stated that the MSPA was in unanimous support.
Okay, I will echo my sentiments as Commissioner Bonston said about option 1. So I want to make sure that that's noted in whatever version of a motion that we make. Any other comments?
I'm just going to add the comments that I made. If you're going back to the drawing board, if you're putting a staff report together, if there's still time to look at things like that, I think it would be great to bring that together, looking into how TDM can play a role, looking into, if rates can be higher, parking at a spot again for $2 and being there for a few hours, that's such a prime location. And then also thinking about curb management now with all Uber and DoorDash and things like that. So that also, curb management, we need to think about all of those. So these are really prime parking spots in a very desired area of the city. I think probably one of the most desired area where people like to go and, have family time. Just that, I wanted to add that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I will. Again, help me on this. So I would like to make a motion to go with option 1 as noted and file. Yeah?
So Commissioner Avagian, you're saying two different things there. I just want to make sure I clarify which one for the record. On the one hand, I heard you saying that you wanted to recommend, move that the commission recommend option 1.
Okay,
On the other hand, I heard that you wanted to move to note and file the item.
I can say I would like to recommend option 1, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay, then I would like to recommend option 1.
I'm happy to second that motion. Any discussion?
I do want to discuss, why don't we do receive and file, and all our comments have been collected? Because if we do option one, that's what it is. That's the blanket, and nothing can change from it. So I was trying to see, since this is a TBD, and option one might change. Again, looking at this, I forgot the fees we were looking at. So I think at the end of the day, what the parking department or folks are doing are kind of almost, this is like an outreach, hearing everyone, kind of putting everything together, and then they're going to take this to council. I didn't want it to be very solid, option one or two, but for them to be able to hear also if you had anything else to add. So, but if everyone else wants that, then I'm one, you guys are three.
I'll just say, ultimately it is a recommendation, but maybe to your point, if there's new information, if there's additional outreach that's done, if staff comes out with a recommendation that's different from ours, I would like to know that as a commission, and perhaps that can be shared with us before it goes to council, not in a formal meeting setting, but just communication to commissioners. And if we feel we need to engage with council directly, maybe we can take that approach. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to move it along.
Sorry, I think that works. But I don't know if you need to do, because there was a second, I don't know, you need to do a roll call, or we can go back on that.
Chair Bartusoff, did you second Commissioner Vagian's motion? So
Modify, I guess?
you can. Perhaps one way to go about that would be to make a friendly amendment that the recommendation is subject to information received or developed by the Public Works Department subsequent to this meeting. So your recommendation is based on the information presented at this meeting, option one, with the recognition that additional information might be received or developed by Public Works subsequent to this meeting.
Okay. Then do I have to repeat that, or?
If you agree with that language, or with that sentiment, I think you can make that motion and we'll memorialize it. But maybe I'll just say it one more time so that I understand what the commission is desiring to do. That based on the information presented, as of the date of this meeting, the commission recommends that the city council pursue option one, recognizing that the Public Works Department may receive or develop information subsequent to this meeting that the city council should consider in making its final decision.
Okay.
May I add something? And this is for my colleagues. Instead of, again, just specifically option one, something I was thinking we can say received and filed and everything that we just heard from our legal team. I don't know if that would be okay. Again, I just don't want to be locked down on just option one, because when staff report is when council reads them, it would be something that might just jump out to them and might not allow the other information that might be coming through.
Yeah, Commissioner Vagian, this is up to you. Functionally, it's the same thing. If we're noting and filing, and the majority of the commission agrees that given the information that we currently have, option one seems like the right choice. We're making that recommendation. I think it's implied that it's given the information that we have currently, and that might change in the future. It doesn't, functionally, it doesn't matter to me. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to formalize a recommendation for option one, or note and file with the understanding that perhaps the majority is okay with option one, given the information that we have.
Yeah, let's go with the Commissioner Shalbazian's additions. I'll put it this way.
I can clarify if that's okay, Commissioner.
Okay.
Commissioners Shabazian and Avagian, mechanically, Commissioner Avagian and Commissioner Bartrasoff, would you be withdrawing your motion in second?
I was going to recommend that I'll
Yes.
withdraw my motion.
Commissioner Shabazian, do you have a motion?
Yes. Receive and file, and everything that you said in the second part of your. So if there is anything that comes to the Public Works Department, it'll be communicated with Commission. Does that make sense?
So it's, and I'll repeat it back to you, it's a receive and file based on, and the substance of the feedback that would be communicated to the city councils, that as of today's meeting, the consensus of the commission is to support option 1, recognizing that further information received or developed by the Public Works Department subsequent to this meeting may inform the council's decision to the contrary.
Yes, I was trying to keep out the part that says option 1, because that wasn't part of the, that was a whole discussion I was having, to keep that out, because that's not also what we're voting on here.
So you do not want the substance of the feedback going to the council that the consensus of the commission was to support option 1. You do not want it to say that.
I think what we were discussing was, Dan.
Let me clarify real quickly, just because, Aaron, the point you just made, I think we made it very simple to just note and file the report. I think we heard very clearly from all of you what it is that you're looking for, and we'll be incorporating that feedback into the staff report anyways.
Got it. You know what? Let me then just.
Go ahead.
My motion is to received and filed. Thank you. That's the motion. If you have a second, we can vote on it. If not,
I'll second it.
thank you.
And if there's no other comments, we'll move to roll call.
Roll call. Commissioner Bartrasoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonston,
Yes.
Commissioner Ordubagian, recused, and Commissioner Shahbazian,
Yes.
Commissioner Avagian.
Yes.
All right. I think this is karma for our last meeting going so short. We got to make up for lost time with our February meeting. Okay, let's move on to item 5B. Thank you to staff for that presentation.
Item 5B, Glen Oaks Canyon Traffic Calming Study. Note and file the Glen Oaks Canyon Traffic Calming Study.
All right. Good evening again. So this study is going to evaluate speeding and safety concerns along Glen Oaks Boulevard amongst various sections. And we will outline a short, medium, and long-term strategy for addressing the traffic calming improvements. We have Ara Karmandayan, our senior traffic engineer, who is going to present the report.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Ara Karmandayan. I'm a senior traffic engineer with the Department of Public Works. This presentation includes an overview of the recently completed Glen Oaks Canyon Traffic Calming Study. The study analyzes and summarizes the existing and collected data while providing specific recommendations that are aligned with the needs and wants of the community. The study focuses on 2 segments along Glen Oaks Boulevard near the Shoal Canyon area. The first is the Glen Oaks Boulevard segment between Verdugo Road and Chevy Chase Drive. The second is the Glen Oaks Canyon segment from Harvey Drive to the Shoal Canyon Park entrance, which includes Hollister Terrace. The study includes an overview of the existing roadway conditions, collected traffic data, like the 10-year collision history, 85th percentile speeds and traffic volumes, and a 3-tiered incremental implementation of traffic calming measures. We start with the short-term measures that improve visibility and lane guidance, then use the neighborhood traffic calming program process to decide whether to move into medium-term calming measures, and finally pursue long-term capital improvements. Our approach combined existing records review and field work. On the record side, we looked at city work orders, prior stop control and signal warrant evaluations, traffic calming requests, and resident emails to understand where concerns have been persistent and what has been tried in the past. In the field, we verified posted speed limits, existing striping and signs, roadway geometry and widths, and key visibility constraints such as curves, driveways, and intersection sightlines. The field review and collected traffic data for segment 1 are summarized on this slide. The section has existing speed limits of 25 and 30 miles per hour, curb-to-curb widths ranging from 44 to 56 feet, and multiple two-way stops with no marked crosswalks. The 10-year collision history shows 50 reported collisions, with improper turning and right-of-way violations as the most common primary factors, and 18% were coded as unsafe speeds. The speed survey results shown are the 85th percentile speeds. The values here indicate that typical operating speeds are more than 10 miles per hour above the posted speed limits in both sub-segments. This map visualizes what we just discussed for segment 1. On the left, the heat map shows where collisions clusters along the corridor and where speeding-related collisions have been recorded, which helps focus countermeasures on specific locations rather than treating the whole segment the same. On the right, the speed map shows 85th percentile speeds, which help us prioritize treatments where drivers are most consistently traveling above the posted speed limit. The short-term measures for segment 1 focus on improvements that can be quickly designed and implemented. A complete list of improvements and their associated recommended locations is presented in the traffic calming study and the concept maps in exhibits A and B of the staff report. This list includes signal head warning signs on approaches to Verdugo Road and Chevy Chase Drive, parking edge lines with a buffer, driveway warning signs, and refreshing center line striping and raised pavement markers where needed. It also includes relocating the existing single mid-block stop signs at the crest of the hill to 2 sets of all-way stops, adding a 2-way left turn lane in the missing section, and implementing intersection daylighting with red curbs for at least 20 feet. Midterm measures add more physical traffic calming elements, including speed humps or speed lumps modified for emergency vehicles, quick build striping based splitter islands, and chokers with K71 flexible delineators. The midterm package also includes all-way stop control paired with high visibility crosswalks where appropriate. The long-term measures move towards more permanent geometric changes, such as raised mountable curb returns, sometimes called truck aprons, and a traversable raised center island like the cross-section shown on the right. Segment 2 includes Glen Oaks Boulevard from Harvey Drive to the Shoal Canyon Park entrance, plus Hollister Terrace, with posted speed limits of 25 and 30 mile per hour and roadway widths generally between 40 and 46 feet. This segment has discontinuous sidewalk coverage, and it includes an existing mid-block crosswalk with an RRFB near Glen Oaks Elementary. The collision summary shown here reports 68 total collisions over the 10-year period, with improper turning, unsafe speeds, and right-of-way violation as the most common primary factors. The 85th percentile speed results shown by the subsegment indicate operating speeds above the posted speed limit on multiple portions of the corridor, while Hollister Terrace operates closer to its posted speeds. These maps show collision density and speed patterns across segment 2. The collision heat map on the left helps highlight where crashes concentrated relative to key generators like Glen Oaks Elementary and near the Shoal Canyon Park entrance. The speed map on the right shows 85th percentile speeds and the dates of the speed surveys, which helps translate the corridor into specific focus areas. The intent is to prioritize early improvements at locations where speed, visibility constraints, and collision patterns overlap most strongly. These are short-term measures for segment 2, focused on striping, signage, and targeted intersection control where appropriate. The list includes parking edge lines, always stop, and high visibility crosswalks, warning signs, visibility improvements, and Glen Oaks Elementary School pickup and drop-off improvements. Midterm measures add physical traffic calming features and more complex operational changes, including modified speed humps or speed lumps coordinated with emergency response needs, and quick build curb extensions at the 5-way intersection on Hollister. The midterm package also includes visibility improvements near the Shoal Canyon Park entrance and upgrading the existing RFB with mast arms. The long-term measures shown here include traffic circles with all-way stop controls, permanent curb extensions at the 5-way intersection, and more substantial sidewalk and curb extension work paired with a HAWK or RFB treatment near Glen Oaks Canyon Park. On Saturday, January 31st, 2026, from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Joe Bridges Clubhouse in Glen Oaks Park, an open house-style community meeting was held. Residents could arrive at any time and move through various stations at their own pace. Outreach efforts included invitation emails, a post in the city community calendar, and 1,189 mailers to local residents 2 weeks before the meeting. The event had multiple interactive stations focused on corridor concerns, treatment preferences, and feedback on the short-term, midterm, and long-term strategies. The photos showed the station layouts, voting boards, and roll plots. The outreach was hands-on and location-specific rather than a presentation. A total of 30 comment cards were collected, 130 written notes on the concept plans, and approximately 340 sticker votes were counted. These are the top preferred measures recorded during the open house activities. For segment 1, the top 5 were modified speed humps, high visibility crosswalks, edge line treatments, always stop intersections, curb extensions, and additional warning signs. For segment 2, the top 5 were modified speed humps, high visibility crosswalks, traffic circles, RFBs, and enhanced school drop-off and pickup improvements, with traffic signals showing the most mixed feedback due to operational concerns near the school area. Here's an example of a roll plot used during the community open house, covered with sticky notes and handwritten comments from the participants. The roll plot format allows residents to point to exact locations, which is often more actionable than a general segment-wide comment. These comments were logged and categorized in the study. They have informed staff on the level of support for each proposed improvement. It is also a useful cross-check for our technical findings because it can confirm whether the areas with the highest measured speeds and collision match the locations residents are most concerned about. This is a key part of building a plan that reflects both data and lived experience. The recommended implementation path is a phased approach over time. In the near term, staff will move forward with short-term striping and signage improvements, then identify a community champion to support the neighborhood traffic calming process for midterm measures and coordinating with the fire department and Glen Oaks Elementary through the Safe Routes to School Measure R project. The final step reflects the practical approach of installing short-term and midterm measures first, then revisiting long-term measures after monitoring outcome like speeds, operations, and resident feedback. The table at the bottom provides a planning level cost ranges and implementation durations for each phase. We appreciate the community's participation and the Commission's guidance as we move forward. Thank you all for your time.
Great, thank you. Let's do a round of questions and then comments. Yes, questions.
Yes. Thank you so much. That was great and very exciting. Great to see that. A few questions. First question, I am assuming we don't have a design yet. So when we were talking about the long term, that's when we'll probably go and like start producing the like final engineering designs, or do we have a concept plan in mind?
So as part of one of the attachments, there are concept plans. We didn't want to spend too much time and resources in developing full design plans. However, we believe the short term and some of the medium term, midterm improvements can be done in-house with work orders or very minimal design plans. The more long-term, because they have more physical and permanent infrastructure, those would require more thorough design plans, correct?
Great. I was just curious to know, so I saw traffic circles on the Shoal Canyon to basically Glen Oaks and Harvey. I was just curious if we know which intersections, and the photo, like there were 5 intersections coming together. I feel like I drive there a lot, but I haven't noticed that.
So that 5 section is along Hollister Terrace. That's a very unique, strange intersection. But the traffic circles you're mentioning would be on either side of the school zone or segment, which is Mount Carmel, and I believe it's also called Shoal Drive as well. So those, right? Waltonia, I'm sorry. Waltonia. Those are the 2 intersections, yes.
Okay, and as you mentioned, it's also gonna, like that is gonna help with the pickup drop-off situation at school. Okay.
Correct. And a little side note, because it's kind of, as mentioned, it's a mixed opinion when it comes to traffic circles and this pickup and drop-off. We actually received a lot of feedback during the open house. It's a very sensitive area that anything we do there, it's gonna, that is different than what's happening today, is gonna impact operations, the pickup and drop-off time. So that's why we made a special comment to say that this should be part of the Safe Routes to School program that's actually coming up. The school would be, or is part of the improvements, or at least is part of the Safe Routes to School Phase 6. So with that, we can do more outreach with the school itself and the residents to find a more long-term solution for that area.
Sounds great. Just one, this is all great. Thanks for answering the questions. Just want to say that probably one of the best parks in Glendale is on Glen Oaks Canyon because it was updated a few years ago and it's fun. But probably parents' worry is the cars just speeding up and down. That's what I worry about. And there's so many, there's so many activities, even though it's a very nice residential neighborhood, but we have the golf course, we have the, the park all the way on top, we have the park kind of midway, and then we have the school. So excited about this. Thank you so much. No more questions.
Questions? I've got a question. I've got some questions. So if you can go back to that slide with the speeds.
For which segment?
Even this one's good too.
Sure.
I know that it's going to be a comment. So go back to the other one, the other segment. Yeah, this like popped out for me, the fact that people are going 38 and 42. Remind me the speed limit for this segment?
The segment from Chevy Chase to the crest of the hill, that segment is 30 miles per hour. And the segment from the crest of the hill down to Verdugo is 25 miles per hour. However, a little asterisk here, as part of the recent speed limit reductions, this entire segment will now be 25 miles per hour.
Oh, okay.
However, it's still obvious that the 85th percentiles are much higher than one would anticipate.
So it has gone to 25 or it will?
It will. We passed it late last year, and we're in the process of working on the plans to upgrade because we reduce speeds for multiple segments throughout the city. So
sure, I remember that.
It'll happen within the next month or so. That's our plan. Correct.
Got it. Okay. And then for this segment, I attended the meeting. I know it was well attended. I won't get into the comments yet, but I just want to make sure the recommendations or the tools in the toolkit that you're using, are they consistent with existing approved transportation plans and documents in the city?
It's a good question. We really wanted to focus this study on traffic calming. We understand there are other plans out there, approved plans like the PED plan and the bike plan. We had a discussion actually during the open house regarding what the 2012 bike plan actually shows. It shows a class 2 bike lane here. That's not feasible according to our recent roadway design policy. It's just we just don't have enough curb to curb width. You brought up a really interesting example of an uphill class 2 and a downhill class 3, a shared. We do have certain examples of that within the city of LA. We will take I believe bike lanes, and Sarkis, please correct me if I'm wrong, we had introduced some kind of bike plan or a project with a bike element in this section, but we were asked to hold off on that until the new bike plan is approved, the upcoming one.
Going back to Chair Bertrusso's question before I answer yours, were you referring to our neighborhood traffic calming handbook?
No.
Was there anything specific you're referring to?
There was the 2010, is it 10 or 12 bike plan?
I'm sorry.
Includes bike facilities on this section of Glen Oaks. So I just want to...
Oh, the current bicycle transportation plan.
Existing approved bike plan, yes.
Yes. Yes, that's what you're referring to? So yeah, there's bicycle facilities recommended on portions of Glen Oaks Boulevard. I don't know exactly which portions. It was not installed at the time that Glen Oaks Boulevard was resurfaced. At that time, it was a council direction.
Yeah, I guess so. So all I'm saying is my hope is that whatever is recommended to council ultimately adheres to already adopted planning and transportation documents. That's my only comment about that.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of time between the long-term improvements and we hope for the updated bicycle plan to be able to potentially incorporate those recommendations. So the time would be on our side in that case.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll move to comments. Yes, please.
I mean, I just want to say, I mean, I grew up in Glen Oaks Canyon. I went to Glen Oaks Elementary. Obviously, like growing up, it was always a big thing, like the street, just be super careful on it. So, and it was always like a big discussion with the residents. So I'm just glad to see at least some steps getting taken after a while. So I'm grateful for that.
Yes, of course.
I like the, I don't know how, you mentioned that the traffic circles are a very hot topic in that area. I kind of like them. I think they actually do reduce traffic speed. And what was the feedback from the community when you mentioned the traffic circles? Were they for it, or they just didn't like it and they just said, don't implement anything that, imposes on us?
I believe it was 2/3 were for traffic circles and a third, 23 agreed and 11 disagreed. And the majority of the individual that disagreed specifically pointed out the pickup and drop off.
For the kids.
For the elementary, exactly. What ends up happening is there's a long queue of cars that line up heading out of the canyon, and the traffic circle at Waltonia would essentially provide or create confusion potentially on where the cars can actually queue up.
So is there a solution for that? Not really.
It's a good question, and that's why we want a more robust analysis and also coordinate with the school as well, and that's why we're proposing to take a deeper dive as part of the Safe Routes to School.
And then the street bump outs, I think that's another excellent idea, especially near the school zones. So I do remember, for example, like Clark Magnet could definitely use something like that over there because they drive like really fast. So did you get any resistance on that, on the steep, bump outs and everything else?
Not really. Curb extensions was pretty popular. As you can see, it was the fifth most favored or preferred measure. Yeah. But yes, if it's a more permanent bump out, then we would consider that more of a long-term approach. But yes, we can explore any other type of. I believe the 5-way intersection on Hollister, we proposed a quick build bump out with striping.
That would be great, yeah.
Just as something that we could do relatively quickly.
Yeah, I really want to congratulate you. It's a great report that you had. And do you know about the implementation of this if you decide to do the bump outs and the circular traffic items? Is it like next year, or do you have a time frame on it, or?
The very last slide for each category. So if it's a more permanent piece of infrastructure, we would consider it more long-term. So in the next 3 years or plus. I know that sounds a lot, but we just have to take incremental approaches. That's the whole point of the study, right? Do things that are short-term and mid-term first. See how much if it made significant improvements when it comes to reducing speeds. And hopefully the operations around the school hasn't been affected. And if those are not successful, then we can consider more long-term solutions.
Got it. I understand. So, but I mean, if you decide to, if the council approves it, or you're just going to, my understanding is that you're going to present it to the council, right? And at that point, if they say they will like the idea and everything else, can you at least start the process?
The only thing we would present to council if we decide to continue with the long-term and develop plans for it.
Okay.
As of now, the short-term and mid-term, we believe we can do that. We can do some of the short-term improvements with in-house
excellent
resources. Mid-term, like I said, we have some Measure R. This is the Safe Routes to School. That's the project that we're looking on, or trying to piggyback off of. And then finally, the long term, if we do have full-on design plans, PS&E plans, then we would go to council for them.
Got it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I actually have a kind of a question related to that. I was interested to know or note that the cost is a wide range. I presume that was because the details weren't worked out, but it sounds like it's mostly the long term that's not worked out.
Correct. And at this level, for just concept plans, you really only have planning level estimates you could provide.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have linear feet or cubic feet of quantities, so that's why they kind of vary. But to be honest, who knows, right? Next 2 or 3 years, prices could change, labor prices could change as well. But we feel pretty confident that this range should capture most of the improvements.
And where do we get the funding?
It's a good question. It depends on which category. So for the short term, we're thinking of utilizing as much existing internal funding, whether it's gas tax or what's been allocated to us this fiscal year and potentially the upcoming fiscal year. Some of the midterm improvements, like we mentioned for the Safe Routes to School, that's a Metro Measure R funds. And for long term, we would consider exploring more federal level and state level grants like HSIP and ATP grants.
I have a follow-up question. You answered my thought about the funding piece, but were these treatments did you consult with the fire department before moving forward with these proposals?
Some of them, yes. We're going to have a few more meetings with the fire department regarding the modified speed humps. I think that's kind of something relatively new that we're trying to do in the city. Once we get more solid confirmation, because we have a few options. We only presented 1 or 2 options here. But if the fire department is willing to explore, let's say, a staggered speed hump, that's one of the options. We currently have lumps that are emergency response friendly, but staggered speed hump or even speed tables, something more gradual. That's something that we've been in continuous coordination. But before we continue with the midterm and designating a neighborhood champion to get petitions and signatures, like the typical neighborhood traffic calming program process, we will have confirmation from fire on what their preferred speed hump scenario would be.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to start with my comments. First to say, I attended the outreach meeting. I think it was extremely well attended. So I don't know if you did something different or we got lucky, but there were a ton of people there. People were very engaged, and I really appreciate the format that you had. So it was a great set. I've been doing community engagement for a long time through my work, and this has proven to be a good format for people to be able to express their views and then also digest, somewhat technical information for the public. So good job. The one thing that I'm concerned about is, I've been to a few meet and greets in that neighborhood, and very consistently the complaint is that people are speeding. And I think people are excited to see that you're out in the community with these very concrete proposals. I think the frustration is going to come when they start to see the time that it's going to take to get these things implemented. Especially if, and I'd love to see this on the screen again, the crash stats in front of the school. That when I look at that heat map, the number 4, number 5, and that string of collisions that are happening literally at the school, it doesn't sit well with me to think that we're going to have to wait 2 to 3 to 4 years for improvements to happen along this particular section. So rather than just say that, I would like to suggest or propose some fourth alternative where we kind of parse through the low cost, high impact treatments within these suite of options that you've considered. I'm not an engineer, you can confirm my suspicion, but speed humps is relatively low cost, and you're not having to restripe an entire corridor and look at technical drawings to install a speed hump. I'd like to see some version of that where we can do something right away, with maybe $100,000 at the most, and put speed humps somewhere. If speed humps are a concern for the fire department, I've spoken to Chief Brooks about introducing a pilot for speed tables. So I know that's something that's new to the city. We've never done it before. I'm hoping that there's interest and a desire to try it out. Maybe given what we're seeing near the school, that's a great location for a pilot. It also kind of removes us from the need to do a petition. I think the petition takes a long time. And in this case, it's not a big deal because it's all single-family residences. But when we're talking about other parts of town where there's multifamily units, apartment buildings, that whole petition process really bogs down the system. So that would be my recommendation, is that we look at a fourth option, something that pursues maybe 1 or 2 treatments in a much more accelerated timeline, so that we're not having to wait all these years and even to identify funding to put in these improvements. So that's kind of the gist of what I'm going after, is let's do something sooner and faster and be more nimble with while we try to address these safety issues.
Can you just elaborate a little bit on the speed tables? I'd like to hear about that. I think I agree with you. I think we should move this rather faster than wait 2 years, 3 years, or even 6 months. If it's something can be implemented, and I don't think it'll cost $100,000. It'll be probably less than that. So can you just let us know a little bit, since you've been involved in parking and all that stuff? You've seen these speed tables?
Yeah, I'll speak to it in layperson terms, and I'd love for staff to jump in if I'm mischaracterizing. But essentially, speed tables are speed humps that are designed to be on faster, sometimes larger streets. So the closest ones to us are in Los Angeles on South Verdugo Road. So when you go down Verdugo and you go into the city of LA, there's speed tables right there. Same on Riverside Drive, further south alongside the LA River and the 5 freeway. They're being implemented all over the place. And the city of LA has a study that shows that these speed tables that are installed on higher speed streets do calm traffic, and they do make the corridor safer. So I've been nudging staff here in Glendale as somebody who works for LADOT to consider piloting a speed table project here and see what we think about it. Am I missing anything on the speed table description?
It sounds about right, yes.
Cool.
Thank you very much. I would like to see that too.
Didn't we vote on speed table project somewhere in the Spar Heights neighborhood last year? Am I remembering this correctly? Okay. Scratch that up.
Any other comments? Okay, so then does somebody want to make a motion?
I think this motion also is to receive and file. Okay, I'll make that motion.
I will second it if we are able to add language to effectuate my question and suggestion that we explore an option that gets us something faster and simpler, so that this community can get relief from the speeding issues that it has.
I'll make that motion if you want me to. I like that.
So oh, I see.
I think that would be, at this point, that would be a friendly amendment to Commissioner Shabasian's.
Friendly.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And then as amended.
I'm happy to second
There
it
you
if yeah. Okay. Okay. Any comments? Otherwise, we'll go to roll call.
Just want to clarify, Chair Bartusoff, we do have the Neighborhood Traffic Calming Handbook, which does have policies and procedures for installing speed humps, stop signs, you name it. It was voted on by this commission and approved by the City Council. It gives staff certain authorities and rights to do whatever we can, however fast we can. Speed humps is one of those that requires the petition process and the notification process. So unless directed by council otherwise to pursue a pilot program, that you have suggested or the commission has suggested, we'll definitely bring it up in our discussion with them in mentioning the note and file similar to the last item. And if that is the direction that we get, then we would, and if there's available funding for it, that's the most critical element as well, we'd be happy to pursue it.
Great. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call.
Chair Bartusoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonston,
Yes.
Commissioner Ordubagian,
Yes.
Commissioner Shahbazian,
Yes.
Commissioner Avagian.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to the next item.
Item 6, informational reports. There are no informational report items on the agenda.
Great, thank you. Next item.
Item 7, oral communications.
Great. We have one speaker card. Edgman, welcome back.
Thank you again. I want to add a little bit of work to your future agenda, but I think these are very important. The time is not running. I think these are very important, and I hope you consider it. So I want to see Glendale to be a leader in state for public safety and premium public transportation. To accomplish that, we need to promote collaboration between the city, state representatives, and other municipal partners such as GUSD and GCC. We should also increase engagement within the community. Currently, we kind of tend to operate in silos, and that's working against the best interest of our community. Here are a few recommendations for local and state partnership that TCP can take lead on, and I'm going to be working on it as well. So you have my email. I sent you an email in the past. Anything that interests you, I would be happy to collaborate with you. So we should work with the GCC and GUSD to secure free public transportation for Glendale students. We spend $11 million annually in our public transportation, and we should work to maximize its use and its accessibility when it's appropriate. In addition to that, there was a study that was shared at the City Council, and it was noted that most of our residents that use public transportation are lower income residents. So I had a question and request to commission a study determine why higher income bracket residents are not using public transportation. Maybe there is a safety concern or something else that we can address so we can promote that use case. Also, I want this commission to take lead on identifying the Glendale resident workplaces and determine a geographic employment concentration. So we invest in routes that are in high demand. Lastly, and it's sorry, I have two more. Agenda is the BRT and provide clear information on benefits and costs to the community. Current outreach is insufficient and critical facts are not being communicated to the public and businesses. Implementation without public support will damage trust in local government and undermine future transportation projects and bond initiatives. We saw an example of that with the bike lanes on Brand. So if there is a need for BRT and the community wants it, let's move forward with it. But if there is an option that's better, that's going to serve the community better, let's explore that one before it gets into an implementation phase. And lastly, and this is a concern across there's one thing all Glendale residents agree on, it's our reckless drivers. And I don't think we can fix that just by engineering and education. There's an enforcement component that we need to take on. And I want to work with you on lobbying and partnering with our state representatives to enhance the penalties under California Vehicle Code 23103 to increase penalties for reckless drivers and repeat offenders from $1,000, which most of them, they just pay and continue doing what they do, to $10,000 to also offset the legal costs that are incurred by the city to go and fight for these tickets. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that everyone pays $10,000 for those tickets, but you have seen how crazy drivers can get when they know they can get away with it with $1,000. And that would be a range, not a requirement. So let's fix these problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Our bus, one of the problems we have with our bus system is the consistency and, the frequency level of them. Honest to God, if they were at my place that I can go every 15 minutes, I know I'm going to catch another bus, I will ride it. So I just don't understand why are we spending $11 million and we still don't have that down. We don't have that set up in a way that public can actually use it. So that's just a comment I wanted to make. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
May I just very quickly add something?
Yes.
And it's just to answer one of the questions you had. It was regarding students and low-income families and being able to do free or less cost. I believe Glendale's Beeline program is part of the Metro TAP program, meaning they could use the TAP card to be able to pay. And Metro has a special program that folks can apply to for very discounted fees to ride services throughout, basically any services that uses the TAP. I can't remember the name of the program, but
It's
we
Go
can just,
Metro.
no, it has a specific program. Sorry,
Metro
I'll
Go
look it.
Pass?
No, I'll look it up, but just wanted to let you know. I'll look it up and let you know right after. Thank you.
And just to kind of second Commissioner Ortobaga's comment, yes, I really dream of the day that we can all use public transportation here without any inconvenience. I would too if it was running every 10, 15 minutes, like in Europe, for example, or in East Coast. I would definitely be riding on the bus as well.
Well, I'll take this opportunity to plug Metrolink. I use it to get to downtown LA, and it takes only 20 minutes from the Burbank station and only 10 minutes from the Glendale station. And if you're traveling from Glendale, it's no stops between Glendale and Union Station. Very convenient, by far the fastest option to get to downtown LA of the options that we have currently. So
I did look that up. I wasn't sure, but it's called LIFE, and it stands for Low Income Fare is Easy. That's the program that Metro has. And actually, this time of the year, that Metrolink ride between Glendale and Union Station is so beautiful. You can see the Hollywood sign. So even I mean, I even take the kids just for fun sometimes.
great. Okay. Next item, please. Adjournment. Yes.
I will make my last motion to adjourn the meeting.
Great. All right. We're adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you.